Why do people buy stuff? Why do people respond to certain things more than other things? What drives people's behaviour? And I think in B2B particularly, we forget that. We forget the psychology of what we do.
We talk about it, don't we, a lot in our agency. We talk about how do we create that emotional resonance with somebody.
It always comes back to business to human. They are people interacting with each other. Let's make it for humans.
And I'm going a little bit off topic here, so sorry, but
You're getting on your soapbox, Charlotte.
I'm getting on my soapbox. I know, I can't help it.
Well, hi everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Soapbox, the Ice Blue Sky Soapbox. This is where we get an opportunity to really talk about what we think and what we really feel, and we get to share that with you as well. So I'm really excited today. We have Marta George in the studio with us today. Marta's from Ping Identity, and I'll allow Marta to introduce herself just very shortly. And we've also got Charlotte, our illustrious CEO of Ice Blue Sky, in the studio as well today.
Illustrious, am I?
It's a great intro, isn't it? So before we start, Marta, why don't you just tell us a little bit about you and a little bit about Ping Identity?
What do you want to know about me? Hi, thank you for having me first.
That's all right, welcome on board.
Marta George, I'm a head of ABM programs at EMEA at Ping Identity. I've been doing it for about a year and a bit now, but only 3 months with an amazing agency, guys. I don't know if you know them. Ice Blue Sky? Ice Blue Sky, maybe? Yeah. Yes, so I've been obviously working with you guys very closely. What do you want to know about me? What do you want to know about?
Well, I think before we go into what we're going to talk about today, let's just understand your passions around ABM, because I know, Marta, you're one of the most passionate people we've ever come across in the world of ABM, and it's been great. Or it's great working with you. But where does that all come from? What's your belief around ABM?
What's been your journey?
What's been my journey? Well, I always been interested in marketing. I think from the beginning of my kind of careers and journeys and where I worked and where I didn't work before, I was always interested with why people buy stuff. I think that was my first interest in marketing, like why we actually buy as a customer, but also other companies, like why they do it. So I moved into marketing a few years ago, started at field level, running events and field marketing for UKI and Nordics in many various companies. And then suddenly realized, well, this is great. I still love it. I still love doing this, but there must be something deeper. It must be something more interesting in terms of doing marketing. Like I don't just want to copy and paste the same events anymore. Like it's great, but I just want to do something a little bit more special. So what about ABM? What about doing it on a one-to-one level, on a very fully personalized, extra deep level to that specific company? And that's kind of how it started.
That's just where it ignited your passions.
Yeah, that's kind of
really
where
good.
it started. And I moved in, and I had a great opportunity to move into the role as well. You know, I've learned myself. I attended webinars, conferences, listened about ABM, spoke with a lot of ABM people. And I thought, why not? This is something I want to do now. So here I am.
Fantastic. So what we're here to do today is we want to talk about buying group or buyer group marketing, because you and I had a really great conversation just prior to this podcast, and we were talking about this human to human element of marketing, and we were all a little bit concerned around, I'm going to mention the word AI. You can't have any podcast without mentioning the word AI. We're obviously very concerned that how authentic is going to be the generation of content and the engagement of people, and are they going to switch off from that? So we were talking about that sort of human to human engagement, but very much this podcast is around the focus of buying groups. Share with me what you see around some of the challenges for Ping in relation to how do you see buying groups? How do you see various people within different buying groups within one organization interacting or not interacting with each other? And what are the challenges for you as the marketeer in what you're trying to do?
Plenty challenges. I can talk about it. Do we have time? That might be a long story. Ping Identity. So what we do, I didn't even start with what we do. Ping Identity, we deliver secure and seamless login identity, digital identity, an experience of digital identity. It's a very broad spectrum because we can talk about it from a lot of different angles. We can talk about your digital identity as something that you need to secure. We can talk about your digital identity as something that gives you a customer experience and it's easy to log in, because that's what we want as customers. Yeah, we just want something easy. You just want to put your password, or not even a password. You want to scan your thumb or face or anything and just get access to your bank account. But you want it to be safe. You don't want other people to log in. And from the company, from that bank perspective, you want that digital identity to be yours. You want to make sure that this is that person logging in there and not someone else, not a fraud.
Yeah.
So buying groups for Ping identity are very important because there is so many of them.
Yeah.
We can talk with a lot of people. We can talk with a fraud persona about fraud. We can talk with the CISO group, let's call them this, the Chief Information Security Officer group, about security. But we can talk about customer experience with a lot of people, with marketing people, for example, from the company. And how we talk to them is very different.
Yes.
Because that customer experience guy doesn't want to talk about fraud. He wants to talk about his customers having the greatest ride of their life when they're logging in, or they don't have to log in. They don't have to put the passwords in every day.
And that's as much of a challenge for your customer as it is for you, because when customers are buying this kind of technology, they have to get consensus across those different buying groups as well. It's not just about what you're trying to achieve, it's about what they're trying to achieve.
Do.
And it's really challenging, I think, for company, for exactly the reasons you said, for buying groups in companies to build consensus across a technology purchase. And I'm sure you've experienced it and seen it, where at the last minute, some stakeholder comes in that hasn't been involved at all and puts a stop to the whole project. And everybody sort of is left reeling going, what happened?
Yeah. Our selling cycles at Ping Identity are very long. And the amount of people that we have to talk first it's ridiculous. Sometimes I read the deal information from salespeople. I'm like, why? How many people actually talk through? And they just don't understand. There are legal people who ask questions because they don't understand. So why are we actually doing it? For what? For them to log in better? That doesn't really make sense. Why are we spending that much money? So us as marketing people, myself and my colleagues, we really need to be smart about it. How to get to those different people before that sales cycle starts. How to deliver different messages to them. And very often we are in a customer's account already. They are our customers, but we only spoke with one buying group.
Yeah, and
very
maybe
often
even only
they don't even know.
No, and a small number of people within that buying group probably, because a salesperson has only got so much time and presence within that account to create those relationships. And it's one of that we've talked about this obviously before, but this is where I think ABM really offers such a big advantage, is it gives that in-depth coverage of an account of the equivalent of probably half a dozen salespeople, and helps build that awareness, so that then when the salesperson has that contact with people, they don't have to work as hard to get those opportunities and those relationships going.
Well, we were just saying before we came in here today, and not necessarily because, we understand that the world loves to be driven by MQLs, and just because...
Shiver on that.
and just
I'm
because,
sorry, have we got enough time to talk about that?
we're not going to talk about that. But what we were saying was, and we've been banging the drum about this, just because you've got one buying group that might be showing some signals, it doesn't necessarily constitute that that's an MQL.
No.
It's about, okay, we've got some value conversation going off over here, but it's not the complete picture. So in relation to those challenges, Marta, so if you got engagement with one buying group, then what's your view in relation to how do you cross-pollinate that across other people to, as Charlotte was saying, to drive that consensus, to try and drive people together, to say, right, okay, we've got really great engagement over here and we need to make you aware of that. I mean, what's your view on that? Is that a natural process within Ping?
It's not. I'm not going to lie here. I think very often once we kind of have that engagement and conversation with one group of people, a small selection of people from the account, and they are already a customer account, let's say, there is barely any engagement with anyone else. We've got the economic buyer, as we like to call that person. Yes, we've got that kind of champion from the company, but we have no engagement with anyone else. Customer, last 7 years, great. We know no one. We speak with 3 people from the whole company.
Yeah.
Well, how do we going to engage, and how are we going to expand within this company?
And get the insight
insight that we need if we only speak with 3 people.
And do those? No, this was a question that came up the other day, and we were having quite an in-depth conversation. And do necessarily that those people know the other people in the organisation?
No,
to
very
actually
often
engage
not
with.
at
No,
all.
yeah, it's
They
like
don't.
I don't know these colleagues in my business.
Yes, they have no clue who they are,
No.
because they positioned in different offices, completely different teams. We're talking here about security, or I don't know, chief architects of something, chief data officer, digital officer, that kind of office. So we've got a lot of technical people, but the customer experience people or marketing people, they barely know them. They are ginormous companies. We're talking here specifically for us at Ping Identity, the companies that we actually go after, and they are our customers, they are huge enterprises.
Yeah.
They're not tiny companies of 10 people sitting in the office and knowing each other. They are thousands of people. Very often they have no clue about each other. And it's interesting. It's impossible sometimes to break into that other buying group because the message is very often focusing on our product and the fact what we do, and how we can help you as a fraud persona. But does it really matter for the customer experience guy? He doesn't care about this. That's not on his remit. That's not on his target. That's not on his mind at this moment. So it's difficult, definitely. It's always been a challenge. And I think we're moving onto that kind of level of message per persona, which is great. We're kind of expanding a lot within the company. But yeah, we should definitely do it more.
Yeah.
And I think as well, I was thinking about the podcast I've just done, where, you have these amazing initiatives that Ping can enable, that are largely about digital transformation, around digital identity. And it touches so many parts of the business, because often these companies are changing completely how we were talking about automotive. So we were talking about the connected car experience. Well, to facilitate that involves all of those teams you were just talking about. So it's beneficial for the prospect, for the customer of Ping, to enable this type of thing to happen, isn't it? And I don't think that's talked about enough. Personally, I think there needs to be more acknowledgement, I think, from large enterprises that are looking for technology solutions to create these amazing digital experiences safely and securely, as you were saying, to acknowledge that perhaps they should be facilitating this somehow for the good of the people within their organisation. I think people have got, and I'm going a little bit off topic here, so sorry, but
You're getting on your soapbox.
I'm getting on my soapbox. I know, I can't help it. But enterprises have got so closed with, who the people are in their organisation, how they're connected to one another. And I think that's causing some short-sightedness, around closing them off to some of these opportunities that the tech world is offering.
Yeah, well, I was having a conversation the other day from someone quite senior at Propolis about customer experience. And they were saying that actually the brands or the people that are supplying the product sometimes know or understand the landscape of the prospect better than the prospects themselves.
Yeah.
So sometimes, and does that then, or are we entering into a period where actually, for people like Ping, for instance, it's going to be a little bit of your advantage to actually map out those various buying groups, understanding the people.
Yeah.
And then as a result of that, you're facilitating the buyer group to drive that consensus. So you're actually saying to everybody, look, if you're all agreeing to all this commonality and arrangement, what you're trying to do, look, here's some people over here in finance, or here's some people here in ops, or here's some people here in IT, and these are the people that we see.
And here's how it's connected.
And this is how it's connected.
With a golden thread.
So, but it's interesting, isn't it, that will marketeers and people at your level, at that real enterprise level, start to almost conduct the buying groups to actually then find out who are the real people in there that actually are the heartbeat of that decision-making unit, to bring those people together. So is that an out-of-the-box thought, do you think?
Yeah, I think it is. And I would also flip it the other way. And bear with me on this.
No, go with it.
People work with each other, they friends, they colleagues at work, with not just within your department. So I work for marketing. My team, marketing people. What's important for me is marketing related content. Yeah. If Marta comes to me, or anyone, whatever, comes to me and wants to talk to me about something that's important to me, I would talk about it, and I would probably pass it to my team if I found it interesting. I wouldn't think that maybe a product person was interested in it. Why would he be? Like, he's my best friend. He might be my best mate. We might go out every weekend and meet up and whatever. How would I know that he would be interested about it? How would I know that he is also in a buying group, just a little bit different? And he might be interested in exactly the same product, just from a different perspective.
Yes, exactly.
So I always think about buying groups as, yes, they exist. Very often they don't know about each other, but they are people in those groups. Yeah. They are friends, they are colleagues, they work with each other. They just don't know about
each other's priorities.
And in which buying group they sit.
Yeah.
So for me,
because they don't see them in that context.
They don't see them in that context at all.
They're not looking over the fence at each other, are they? They're
not
working,
at all.
You know, they're working within their silos.
How amazing would it be if we, as a company, Pink, deliver a message or any content to a marketing people and say, we deliver it to you, and it is important for you from a customer experience perspective. However, there is also that product is also very important to a fraud persona. So if your best mate from work works in fraud and maybe falls into this buying group, this is the message that maybe you want to pass on.
This is the asset that they'd be interested in.
This is the asset that they'd be interested in. This is a great. This is the link that I'm very interested in, because it always comes back to business to human. They are people interacting with each other. Let's make it for humans.
And we forget that so much. And, you know, I'm in marketing for exactly the same reason you are. That I love, you know, what you said at the beginning about why people buy stuff. I love that too. I love, why do people buy stuff? Why do people respond to certain things more than other things? What drives people's behavior? And I think in B2B particularly, we forget that. We forget the psychology of what we do and the fact that these are real people. You know, you think about consumer marketing, they run focus groups all the time. They're like modeling the buyer journey, they're monitoring it, they're talking to their customers all the time. In B2B, we're really poor at that.
Very much.
Very poor at that.
We're very sterile sometimes. And we talk about it, don't we, a lot in our agency. We talk about how do we create that emotional resonance with somebody? How do we create something that's some content or a message or an interactivity with someone which is really interesting but has some real human engagement qualities?
Well, it's just interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, the bar is actually quite low. I think it's just interesting. It's interesting, as in it's helpful to your day to day. It's nice to look at.
And that's the challenge. We come back down to sort of we spoke about earlier, when we talk about AI and we talk about the over proliferation of content, and are people just going to be scrolling through their LinkedIn? They go, no, because it's all going to become the same. I think the question is, though, and we all talk around personalisation, it has to be personalisation around relevant content for each of those buying groups, but also to stimulate those people within the buying groups about other people within the business that they think they should be having that conversation with. And I guess that's the challenge, but it's also the opportunity.
It's a massive opportunity.
Absolutely.
It's like ABM Plus, you know, you get that right.
It's a completely different level of engagement.
And the trust you think that would engender.
Massive. I think very often B2B companies forget that it's not business buying from you. They are still human buying from you. So yes, it's not directly B2C as we see B2C, but it's always going to be B2H. It's always human at the end of that, on the end of that road, regardless if it's a ginormous large enterprise or a person buying, you know, a tin of baked beans. Baked beans. I remember the post that you put on LinkedIn. That's how the baked beans came to my head straight away. Doesn't matter. There is still human making that decision.
Exactly. And it's an emotional decision.
Very emotional.
People
if you
forget
spark
this.
that emotion in a person, there is a much higher chance that that person comes and say, you know what? I've seen this great thing. I've seen Pink Identity. They do this amazing thing. And the conversation starts going. Yeah. Spark their emotions. No one's going to care that, you know, you have a great, very sterile looking logo and brand. No one
Blanding.
Blanding, yeah.
So,
blanding.
So if we link that back to lead scoring, because we were talking about lead scoring, weren't we? Yeah. And
big fan.
Yeah.
or account scoring.
Okay. Account scoring. Regardless. Okay. So you obviously have to show those metrics in relation so through the hierarchy of the business, you need to qualify, right, I'm spending this budget. Are we ripping up the rule book in relation to account engagement?
We would.
Yeah.
I wish
well,
we
no.
can
Let's say we are ripping up the rule book.
Yeah.
But what actually matters? What's going to be the top scoring things that happen? Is that going to be human to human engagement? Is all of a sudden it's going to come in as they used to say, straight in at number one, you know? And is that going to be the lead driver where we've got that human to human interactivity beyond someone clicking on someone, beyond someone just consuming something or attending a webinar and think, I don't know where it's going to go, but it seems like there's a new order in relation to that account scoring, and I think we as marketeers, or you as marketeers, and us as an agency, we're marketeers as well. But it's about, okay, what does that look like? What do you think that looks like, Marta, from your side?
I think there is definitely, time for a shake-up a little bit. We need to start looking into the account scoring, whatever we want to call it, from a completely different perspective. We need to think about engagement as engagement with humans, with other humans, because what is most valuable for you as a business selling? It's the fact that the other business is engaging with your content regularly, wants to read, reaches out for your assets, downloads them multiple times. This is important. Do you really care that someone maybe clicked on a link somewhere and that lead just came to the system? Is it really a valid link? A valid lead, MQL?
And does that quantify the budget that you're spending? Or is it just tick boxing for the sake of tick boxing?
Exactly that. Yeah. And I struggle with that. I really struggle with those. We still need to hit our MQL number every quarter. Do we really have to hit our MQL number?
Yeah, why? Why do we have to?
Yeah. I just don't agree with it, and I'm
struggling. I'm the same, because we talk about this. But it just doesn't bear any resemblance to what actually happens. No. It's like you've got the MQL scoring over here in a vacuum on its own, all looking marvellous, that bears absolutely zero relationship to what's happening between the company and the buyer.
Conversion, absolutely. No,
it's meaningless. No. And I get why we do it, because it's a vanity metric, makes everybody feel much better. Look at all this. And
so many leads
up since last month. Woo!
And I find it really interesting, especially now when I do ABM, because I think when I was still looking after UK field marketing, that's your main kind of KPI. How many MQLs did you bring from this event? And that's the important part. Yeah. Oh, scans on the event. Oh, I love scanning.
Love a scan.
Love a scan from an event.
Barcode scan. Yeah.
But now I moved into the dark side. I moved to the ABM side, and we work with our customers. And it's so interesting when I have this call with a salesperson. Okay, so what do we know about this account? Where are the gaps? It's our customer for many years. How many people are we actually talking to? Well, 2. Wow. Okay, great. Yeah. So that's what I see big value in, actually.
And it's an assistant to the salespeople, isn't it? Yeah.
2 people that we know currently. Do I really, what is my driver here? Do I want more random names from that account?
Yeah.
Or do I want to actually find out who those important people are?
And who want to speak to the salesperson.
To speak with them and actually engage with them, because I'd rather engage with 5 fantastic personas from the account instead of 35 pointless MQLs. MQLs are coming.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, listen, we could talk about this forever, couldn't we? But we got to wrap up. Marta, you've been fantastic, and thanks for those insights and really giving. We can talk about it as an agency, but it's really good to get that sort of real perspective from a client view. We're super excited to be working with you, and we are working on a super great initiative with Ping. We're not going to talk about it too much now, but it very much does revolve around that buyer engagement side. And how do we use digital experiences to enforce that and ignite that buyer-to-buyer engagement across organisations? So we're going to check back in with you, and we'll probably invite Marta back on, actually. We can talk about the trials and tribulations of that.
Definitely.
But for now, that's another edition of Soapbox. Thanks very much for listening, and until next time, we'll see you soon.